This is the Spirit and Wellness Show. News and information from a higher perspective. With your host, Harry Wilkinson.
Yes, this is your host, Harry Wilkinson, and welcome to the Spirit and Wellness Show. This is the show where we take a look at the days and weeks events. We look at happenings in the world of politics, in the world of international relations, entertainment, all of the stories that are, interacting with us in our lives via the media or whatever other outlets you may use in your daily life, whether it's radio or cable TV or the internet. However these stories are transmitted to you, they come to you, and they come to you in a way that can sometimes be disturbing for some people if you don't take the right point of view. The spiritual point of view is what I promote here. And that allows one to look at these stories in the light of what they are, what we are creating through them, and why we might be creating them, and then to go into them and connect to who and what we really are, the truth about ourselves, our spiritual nature, our oneness. Every story, no matter how frightening or button-pushing it may appear to be at first, once you go in and you take the energy away from it, you find it has the potential to help you reconnect to the vital truths about ourselves that we, lose sight of during, our engagement with illusion. Let's put it that way, which is so much of what our daily life is. Engagement with illusion, things that aren't really real, that aren't the truth about ourselves, but we engage with them. And we engage with them because through engaging with them, we do find out what we are not, and ultimately remind ourselves of who and what we are. Again, that's that idea of oneness and so forth and so on. So that's the approach, and I try to, keep feet on the ground here, not get too off into the ether, but sometimes we do talk about some rather mind-bending things on this show. I think it's appropriate. I think it's something that is needed, besides just from the spiritual perspective that I offer on this show, but a platform for these new, and by the way, almost everything I talk about, particularly on today's show, is backed by science. It's science that is replicable science, but in many cases it's science that mainstream or traditional scientific world doesn't want to accept, and not for any reason other than, and they may contest the science on it a little bit. Often that's the excuse they give, but in reality, the reason they don't want to accept it is because it's telling truths about our world that don't fit into the illusions that mainstream science has created for us. And when your beliefs are challenged, particularly when you are at the level of the at the intellectual level of scientists who have a great deal of pride about what they have accomplished and discovered, and what their belief systems are, when that gets challenged, they just don't want to hear it. So a lot of the things that we talk about on this show are that kind of science, and really the place where science and spirituality meet. Hence the title of this episode of this show, which is the Science-Spirit Connection. And we're going to talk quite a bit about that. We're going to talk about spiritual perspectives that science today backs up. A worldview that is very similar to the beliefs of mystics and shamans, those who have a metaphysical outlook on life. So we'll talk about that. We talked a little bit about it on last week's show, but we're going to get more in depth in it today, hopefully. Time holds out. We're going to talk about dreaming herbs. If you are interested in lucid dreaming, or even if you're not interested so much in lucid dreaming, but recent studies have shown that health-wise, if you are not remembering your dreams, or you don't think you've dreamt at all, there are health risks involved with that. So there are some herbs that have recently come into the marketplace, and they're very safe, but they're herbs that supposedly assist and help in your being able to access your dreams. Dreams are our way of, coping with the world. Dreams are our way of working through questions that we either don't know we haven't had the time to think about, or are just under the surface of our everyday awareness. So you can see how important that is. So we'll talk about that. And we're going to talk about the Large Hadron Collider back in business. So now that we have confirmed the existence of the God particle, or the Higgs boson particle, as it's technically called, the next big frontier that they're studying is the area of dark matter. And we talked about that. We always talk. We talk frequently about this kind of stuff on the show, but we'll talk more about that. But first, we'll go to some of the top news for today, because we like to do that. And actually, the Large Hadron Collider is part of that top news story. But we're going to talk about the G7 summit, which opens today. Now, what is the G7 summit? I'm sure you probably know already, but for those who don't, it is a meeting of these 7 countries that wield the most economic influence in the world. And that includes, of course, the United States, there's Germany, there's Great Britain, and they're discussing, and there's Japan, there's France, and they get together to discuss, policies, approaches to the world economy. And like it or not, there are some who don't like it, and some who embrace it, and some who have qualms about it. But our economy is increasingly global and increasingly in flux. I'll have to get back and do another show on spiritual economy, because we talked quite a bit about that a year or two ago. It's important. It's what's evolving in our economy, or economics, as we realize that it really doesn't work. Just the same, and it's really on the same cycle, on the same awareness level as politics. We're waking up to the fact that there are no political solutions to our problems. Just as we're waking up to the fact that there's no military solution to our so-called problems. And also, there are really no economic solutions to our problems. Our so-called problems. And I say so-called because, again, we're engaging in the world of illusions. And when you're engaging in the world of illusions, you do the duality thing. There's good, there's bad, there are problems, there's solutions to problems. And when you're going from a spiritual level, you recognize that there aren't any problems. Everything is part and parcel of our creation and our our unique experience in the world. But I digress. The truth is, and the truth that we get to, is that the only solutions come from spirituality. In other words, they come from the spirit of who and what we are, and that requires our reconnecting to our oneness. And any time we do that, that's where everything flows from. And until there's a change in awareness of things, all the politics, all the armies, all the money in the world won't help. I give a very concrete example of this because it's happening right now. And that example is the rapid acceptance that is happening in the United States and in other countries as well, and support for gay marriage. Now, there are obviously still people who oppose that, but state after state after state is legally accepting gay marriages as valid marriages. In fact, the whole attitude towards those things has changed rapidly within the past 2 to 3 years. Even our president of the United States says that his position on it has evolved. So why is that? Why is it that for years all of the political grandstanding, all of the activism, all of the laws passed, all of the policies couldn't change it. Couldn't change the fact that gay marriage wasn't welcome. Gay people, in many circumstances, were not allowed to do certain things. And all of a sudden, it's opening wide open. And why is that? It wasn't a political solution, right? The politics is falling in line. It's being used along with everything else that's going on, but that wasn't the reason why. Certainly wasn't a military solution, right? We didn't send tanks in, and we didn't threaten anti-gay religious leaders with violence or anything like that. And it wasn't really an economic solution, other than the fact that there were a lot of people who had a lot of money who either are gay or close to someone who is gay and use their money accordingly. But what it is a change in perspective. That's what changed. The spirit of people changed. And once that happens, everything else is easy. It all flows. So that's what it's all about. Now, here on this G7 summit, let me get back to this. The big issues are what's going on in Ukraine. And again, if you're not familiar with what's going on in Ukraine, there is a split going on, really what amounts to a civil war between progressive Ukrainians. I'll call them progressive Ukrainians. Those are those that want Ukraine to be part of the European Union and closer to Western ideals, and those that want Ukraine back with Russia. And a lot of what's being talked about is what is being called Russian aggression in Ukraine. Although Russia states that it has no intention of starting a war there, some of the Russian rebels are being backed by Russian, weapons and so forth and so on. So the idea is that they're going to keep sanctions up on Russia to punish them for what they consider to be a disrespect of Ukraine's sovereignty, and that's from the White House. So that's one big issue, and then the other issue, which is the one I'm going to really focus on right now, is the Greek debt, because it's very exemplary of what's going on in the changing spirit and idea of economics worldwide. Greece has been embattled economically for a long time. They've been bailed out by the European Union that insists on severe and what the Greek people feel are unrealistic expectations for austerity, and these are things that the Greek people have recently stood up against. In fact, they had an election and voted a different kind of government that will stand up to being what they consider to be really overrun and controlled by those countries that have lent them money. They want to do things like hikes in sales tax. They want to cut salaries of civil servants and cut pensions. And the Greek Prime Minister feels those demands are absurd and will, devastate his country. And this has been going on for quite some time. And there's been, some debt forgiveness, but not much. So what we see here, and just to be brief about it, because we've got other things to going on here, but what we see here are the beginnings of, we have this world economy, and the coming to grips of the idea that, it isn't just, one country or one group of people, versus, who have, and, others that have not. When anybody, for instance, like the Greek government, has trouble, it affects everybody else. Nobody's immune to that because we are one. So as that dawning awareness happens, as it begins to be truly understood that what happens economically in Greece or Ukraine or Mexico or Guadalajara or anywhere else affects what happens economically to you, to us, in this country and every other country. Once we truly get that lesson, then you'll see the spiritual shift that's necessary. So, but we'll come back to that. Believe me, there'll be more opportunities to talk about that. Large Hadron Collider, as I mentioned, is started operating again. It's been shut down for a while. And now we are investigating dark matter. Dark matter is the substance of 90% of the universe, which we have no idea what it's made of. And so it's a matter that we can't see because it doesn't interact with light. That's why it's called dark matter. And it's a huge, huge mystery. And the hope is that, with the Large Hadron Collider, they will be able to get more information about what this really is. So now, this is from the Director General at CERN, he says a higher energy will allow us to address the great outstanding questions in particle physics, which have to do with black matter. So, and they're very excited about it. Oh, the head of research at CERN, we have the best ship in the world. We have the best crew. Now we are ready to go on the next exploration. We are going into a vastly uncharted space, and there could be big surprises. I'm certain that there will be. So, what does the Large Hadron Collider do? Well, it creates collisions of particles. And by colliding those particles and observing what happens, they can get more information, particularly about those unseen particles that are a great mystery. And so they're going to be looking at supersymmetrical particles. Those are particles that work in conjunction with other particles but can't be seen. They're sort of invisible, like dark matter at the subatomic level. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how this progresses. And certainly we will talk more about it on this show, as we always do. All right, one more top news story in the world of science before we move on. Actually, there's going to be another one, but we'll get to that later. The United States scientists are talking about this global warming pause that has been put out. Apparently, there's been talk of being a pause in the effects of global warming, and now scientists are saying that is no longer valid. New research, new evidence casts doubt on the idea that global warming has slowed in recent years, because that's what they had been saying. U.S. government laboratory says the much talked about pause is an illusion caused by inaccurate data. Updated observations show temperatures did not plateau, apparently, and the warming rate over the past 15 years is virtually identical to the last century. And this is from a report in Science magazine. Dr. Thomas Carl of the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration says, we would hope that it would inform the general public that the temperature today really is continuing to warm. So this idea of a global warming pause or hiatus came from questions about how the warming temperatures appear to be stalling recently. There were explanations put forward, changes in volcanic and solar activity and so forth. However, apparently those observations were inaccurate. And the results that they now have still show the warming trend over the past 15 years is not as slow as they had originally thought. So, well, we thought we might get a break on that, but apparently not so, say the scientists. So there's the global warming illusion that we are dealing with. We'll talk more about. We'll come back to that. And I've mentioned many times about how that story is also a story that leads us in some interesting directions in reconnecting to our sense of oneness. But okay, we really need to move on here and talk about dreaming, because we mentioned this last week. So dreaming herbs, and there's one that from shamansgarden.com is recommended, Calea Zacatechichi. It's spelled CALEAZACATECHI. It's apparently a popular dreamer's blend to help induce dreams and make them more vivid and to remember them. And so the traditions of dreaming that come from different countries really illustrate the importance of it. In this article here on Shaman's Garden, the discussion is about African herbs. Dreams and traditional religion are inextricably linked for many African tribes, and the appearance of an ancestor in one's dreams is considered a significant experience on both sides of the ocean, the material and the spiritual, informing and enriching the lives of individuals and communities. The ancestor's message and its purpose can vary greatly, from providing healing and prophecy to demanding changed behavior and many other curious and interesting things. Not all ancestors are welcome dream visitors, nor are all deceased relatives considered ancestors. This web of connection, that is the dreaming world, links the living and the dead, allowing the continuity of existence to be felt while ensuring the perpetuation of guidance from the ancestors. So it's only natural that Africa would be an incredibly rich source for herbs that help to induce vivid dreaming, as well as ones that help to enhance dream recall as well. Native Americans are also another example of a people who were so connected to the earth and the spirits that are in every single object, animate or inanimate, that they as well have thousands of years of cultural research into various herbs that help to induce vivid dreaming, lucid dreaming, or dream recall. As they've been doing this for many, many, many years. Medicine men seek names of newborns through fasting, meditation, prayer, and dreaming, where spirits will give them a name. At a subsequent naming ceremony, the medicine person burns tobacco as an offering and pronounces the new name to each of the four directions, and everyone present repeats the name when it is called out. So it's, these traditions are things we've maybe have lost touch with a little bit. I know for me, and maybe this is something that's true for modern people, going within, as they say, in meditation for guidance, spiritual guidance, that's basically dreaming. It's basically what we're doing. And in fact, we are basically dreaming our lives away, if you will. Because I would say, and many others have said, that what happens in dream time is the truth. And what happens in our so-called material world, or our everyday waking world, is the dream. But we'll talk more about that too. Alright, so now, here are some scientifically supported and proven points of view that are spiritual. So we talked last week about the unified field. So let me just reiterate that. Ancient spiritual science and many traditions of study point back to singular God in the universe, a concept now being proven by quantum physics, of course, especially since the confirmation of the God particle, or the Higgs boson particle, which we were just talking about, shows that we live in a unified field of energy which interconnects everything. Literally the entire universe, every particle is conscious, and it's exponentially evolving. If our entire world embraced this perspective, if the entire world embraced this perspective flipping truth, we'd be working for the benefit of each other as global organisms. And it's happening. Slowly, but the awareness seems to be dawning. So if you're living truly from a place of oneness, you will be forever on the path of positive evolution and heartful living. So number 2, reflection, reality. Reality is a reflection of yourself. So this is another perspective that I come from on this show. What if I told you there was only one person on the planet? And in a way, this is true. Your entire reality is a holographic reflection of you. Every person, every living thing, and the entire planet is a direct reflection of you. Interestingly enough, if you change and evolve yourself, reality itself will change. So, the idea that if you look at everything and everyone around you as another aspect of yourself that you may or may not be comfortable with or familiar with, that can really make a huge difference in your life. If you look at these news stories that we talk about as part of you, as something you created to say something about yourself, isn't that interesting? Number 3, following your highest excitement or following your bliss, which of course is a mantra that Joseph Campbell introduced into the lexicon. But it literally means live for the greatest experiences you can have. It's often misinterpreted as people can think it means just do what's fun. But it's not saying anything like that. It's saying do and be the things that truly excite you. And by excite you, that means that they challenge you, make you grow, push you in new directions, expand you, and develop you into something great. And that includes nervousness, maybe even a little fear or trepidation, as well as elation and joy. All of those things are aspects of excitement. And number 4 is seeing synchronicity in everything. You don't have to even fully understand the true meaning of oneness to experience synchronicity, although it definitely helps when coincidences happen again and again. When you start seeing things that are related again and again, it really gives you an understanding that something's going on here, you know. And number 5 is inward is the new outward. So with our consciousnesses awakening and technology accelerating with us, we've become smarter, we're evolving, our technologies, as we talked about how our, views of religion are changing. So our spirituality and technology are starting to come together in many, exciting new ways. So, those are 5 areas where, science and technology meet. And so, this wonderful article that we're going to save for next week. It's all about the human brain and how it is wired for intuition. Again, science meets spirituality in the otherworldly or unknown, or whatever you'd want to include intuition into. So that's going to have to wait until next week, but we'll get to that article and more science-spirit connections as well. And we'll also talk more about the dreaming herbs and so forth and so on. But if you go to like a Whole Foods or any of your local vitamin stores, they will be able to show you the different herbs that are starting to become available that may help you remember your dreams more easily. So, until then, keep dreaming. And please tune back in next week. We'll talk more